there is a repair window that opens inside your body every single night. And almost every man over 60 is sleeping straight through it, without getting any of the benefit. Not because they are doing anything dramatically wrong. Because nobody told them that what they eat in the 2 hours before bed determines whether the prostate's overnight repair cycle runs fully or stalls completely. The inflammation that is swelling your gland, restricting your stream, waking you up at 2 a.m., that inflammation does not have to build unchecked through the night. Your body has a mechanism designed to clear it. But that mechanism needs specific raw materials to operate. And most men are not providing them. Tonight, that changes. I have been practicing urology for 5 years, and one of the patterns I see most consistently in men with severe prostate symptoms is this. Their nighttime is working against them twice.
First, their prostate symptoms are waking them up, and second, because they are not sleeping deeply, their body is never completing the overnight anti-inflammatory and tissue repair cycle that could actually begin to reverse those symptoms over time. It is a cycle that feeds itself in the wrong direction. Broken sleep means impaired repair. Impaired repair means the inflammation stays elevated. Elevated inflammation means worse symptoms. Worse symptoms mean worse sleep. The men who break that cycle are the ones who stop waiting for it to fix itself and start giving their body what it needs to do the work overnight. Before I tell you exactly what to eat and when, I want to point you to something. I have put together a short video that explains the root cause mechanism behind prostate inflammation in detail. The specific biological chain that drives glandular enlargement, weak flow, broken sleep, and declining erections, and why they almost always get worse together. I have linked it below this video. Watch it after this one. But let me give you the foundation here first. The molecule at the center of this entire mechanism is melatonin. Most men think of melatonin only as a sleep aid. That is a fraction of what it actually does. Melatonin has direct receptors on the smooth muscle cells that line the prostate and bladder. When melatonin binds to those receptors during deep sleep, two specific things happen. First, it suppresses the inflammatory signaling cascade that drives prostate tissue swelling. The specific pathway involved is NF-κB, the same inflammatory master switch that processed food, chronic stress, and poor circulation activate during the day. Melatonin turns it down at night. Second, melatonin supports the overnight repair of nitric oxide signaling in the blood vessel walls that supply the prostate. Nitric oxide is the molecule that keeps pelvic circulation open and healthy. When nitric oxide production is impaired, blood flow to the prostate becomes sluggish. The gland operates under chronic oxygen deprivation. Inflammation accumulates. The cycle I described begins. Melatonin, during deep sleep, restores the vascular environment that nitric oxide depends on. This is the mechanism I break down in full in the video linked below. It is the most important piece of biology most men with prostate symptoms have never been told. Worth 10 minutes of your time after this. Here is the problem. Melatonin production declines significantly after the age of 50. By the time most men are in their mid-60s, their pineal gland is producing between 60 and 75% less melatonin than it did at 25. The anti-inflammatory signal reaching the prostate during sleep is arriving at roughly a quarter of its former strength. The repair cycle is running at a fraction of its capacity. And this is happening silently, every night in almost every man watching this. What you eat before bed is a direct dietary compensation for that biological decline. Specific foods consumed at the right time in the evening provide the raw materials your body needs to produce melatonin during the critical overnight window. And specific foods consumed at the wrong time actively block the repair cycle from running at all. Let me give you both. The first food to eat before bed is pumpkin seeds. A small handful, roughly 28 grams, eaten 60 to 90 minutes before sleep. Pumpkin seeds are one of the highest whole food sources of tryptophan, the amino acid your body converts into serotonin and then into melatonin during the hours of darkness. But tryptophan alone is not the whole story. Pumpkin seeds also contain magnesium and zinc, both of which are required cofactors in the enzymatic conversion that turns tryptophan into melatonin in the pineal gland. Without adequate magnesium, that conversion is limited at the final step regardless of how much tryptophan is present. Pumpkin seeds deliver the substrate and the tools simultaneously. For the prostate specifically, the zinc content carries additional significance. The prostate gland has the highest zinc concentration of any organ in the male body. Zinc is required for testosterone metabolism regulation inside the gland. Chronic zinc depletion is directly associated with prostatic inflammation and elevated PSA. A small handful of pumpkin seeds before bed is simultaneously supporting melatonin production, the overnight repair cycle, and the prostate-specific mineral requirements. I had a patient named Dennis, 64, who had been waking up 3 times a night for over 2 years. He added pumpkin seeds as his only change for 6 weeks. His nighttime trips dropped to 1, sometimes 0. He told me he had not slept that well in years. The second food is tart cherry juice. 30 milliliters of concentrated tart cherry juice diluted in water, consumed in the evening. Unlike pumpkin seeds, which provide melatonin precursors, tart cherries contain directly bioavailable melatonin that enters circulation without requiring the conversion pathway. Research published in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry confirmed that 30 milliliters of tart cherry concentrate delivers approximately 13 to 17 nanograms of melatonin directly into the bloodstream during the critical overnight window. For men whose pineal glands are producing significantly less melatonin than they should, this is a meaningful and direct contribution. Beyond the melatonin content, the anthocyanins in tart cherries, the compounds that give them their deep red color, have documented anti-inflammatory properties specifically in smooth muscle tissue. That is directly relevant to the prostate and bladder smooth muscle that melatonin is simultaneously targeting. 2 mechanisms, 1 ingredient, 1 note of caution. Tart cherry juice contains natural sugar. If you have elevated blood glucose, dilute it substantially and be aware of the effect on your levels. The third food is raw walnuts. 30 grams, approximately 7 whole walnuts, eaten plain or with a small amount of plain yogurt. Walnuts provide tryptophan alongside alpha-linolenic acid, a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. The omega-3 content matters here for a specific structural reason. The melatonin receptors on prostate smooth muscle cells are embedded in cell membranes. The fluidity and function of those membranes, including how effectively the melatonin signal is received and transduced, depends on the fatty acid composition of the membrane itself. Chronically low omega-3 intake produces stiffer, less responsive cell membranes. The melatonin signal arrives, but the receptor does not respond with full efficiency. Regular omega-3 intake directly improves membrane fluidity and receptor function. Better receptor function means the overnight melatonin signal lands with more force, and the anti-inflammatory effect on prostate tissue is more complete. Now let me tell you what not to eat before bed, because the wrong food at the wrong time will cancel every benefit I just described. The first mistake is refined carbohydrates at dinner or in the evening. White bread, pasta, white rice, any dessert, sweetened drinks, crackers. When you eat refined carbohydrates, blood glucose spikes, insulin surges in response. Chronically elevated insulin in the hours before sleep does 2 specific things that work directly against prostate repair. First, it activates IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, which tells prostate cells to proliferate rather than repair. Second, it suppresses the depth and quality of slow-wave sleep, which is the sleep phase where melatonin reaches its peak concentration and where the anti-inflammatory repair cycle runs at maximum intensity. You cannot eat refined carbohydrates late and then expect deep restorative sleep. The biochemistry does not allow both simultaneously. The second mistake is alcohol within 3 hours of sleep. I want to be direct about this because many men use alcohol to fall asleep and believe it is helping. Alcohol produces sedation, not sleep. They are not the same thing. Even 1 standard drink within 3 hours of sleep suppresses slow-wave sleep by approximately 25%. The deep phase is cut short. Melatonin peaks earlier and drops faster. the anti-inflammatory window in the prostate is shortened. The repair cycle starts but does not complete. Men who drink before bed and still wonder why their prostate symptoms are not improving are often unknowingly cutting off the biological process at exactly the point where it would begin to make a difference. The third mistake is eating too close to sleep. The timing of the last meal matters as much as the content. When you eat within 60 minutes of lying down, digestion is still active. Blood is redirected to the gut. Core body temperature stays elevated. And the melatonin signal, which requires a drop in core temperature to reach full concentration, is suppressed. The target is finishing your last meal at least 2 hours before sleep. If your dinner timing has been late, even shifting it 45 minutes earlier will produce a measurable change in sleep depth within 1 to 2 weeks. Now let me tell you about a 2023 study out of Fukushima Medical University in Japan that ties all of this together. Researchers were mapping the cellular events driving prostatic enlargement at the microvascular level in men with confirmed benign prostatic hyperplasia. What they found was that chronically restricted blood flow to the prostate, driven by impaired nitric oxide signaling, was the primary upstream trigger for the abnormal cell proliferation causing glandular enlargement, before the hormonal cascade, before the inflammatory amplification. It was the impaired circulation that initiated the process. An impaired circulation to the prostate is what poor melatonin signaling during sleep directly causes. When the overnight repair of nitric oxide synthesis does not complete because melatonin is insufficient, pelvic circulation is compromised the following day. The prostate is deprived of oxygen, the inflammatory environment builds, the gland grows, night after night, year after year. That study is the reason this protocol matters as much as anything I have published on this channel. I break it down in full in the video linked below. Here is what to expect and when, so you know this is working. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, most men notice a change in sleep quality before anything else. Not necessarily longer sleep, but qualitatively different. Waking up feeling more rested, a clearer morning. This is the first sign that the melatonin biochemical environment is beginning to improve. Between weeks 2 and 4, nighttime urgency typically begins to reduce. The prostate's inflammatory load is lowering. The bladder is receiving cleaner signals. Nighttime trips begin to decrease. By week 6 to 8, stream strength begins to improve as the chronic inflammatory compression on the urethra reduces and pelvic circulation improves. I had a patient named Carl, 68, who implemented this protocol after years of 2 to 3 nighttime trips and a weak, hesitant stream. At his 8-week check-in, he reported nighttime trips were down to 1. Stream was noticeably stronger. He said he finally felt like his body was working with him instead of against him. The improvements are cumulative. They do not arrive all at once, and they do not arrive in days. The biological repair cycle is real, but it operates on weeks, not hours. Consistency is the variable that determines whether results arrive or not. 1 week of the protocol followed by a weekend of late eating and alcohol sets the clock back significantly. 5 to 7 consistent nights per week is the target. Here is the complete practical summary. 60 to 90 minutes before sleep, eat a small handful of pumpkin seeds, 28 grams, alongside 30 milliliters of tart cherry concentrate diluted in water. Add 30 grams of raw walnuts if appetite allows. If you use magnesium supplementation, magnesium glycinate at 200 milligrams taken 30 minutes before bed supports the final enzymatic conversion step in the melatonin pathway and has independently documented benefits for slow-wave sleep depth. Finish your last meal at least 2 hours before sleep. No refined carbohydrates or alcohol in the evening. Keep your sleep timing consistent within a 45-minute window every night, including weekends. Your body's repair cycle is a scheduled biological event. Consistency gives it the anchor it needs. What I want you to understand before you go is this. The prostate symptoms most men are living with are not permanent. They are the downstream consequence of a biological environment that has been quietly degrading night after night without adequate repair. That repair cycle exists in you right now. It has not stopped responding to signals. The signals have just not been reaching it clearly enough. What I described today is how you send them. Before you go, watch the video I have linked below. It is about 10 minutes. It explains the root cause mechanism connecting sleep, nitric oxide, blood flow, and prostate inflammation in full detail. Watch it when you can focus. I think it will be the most useful 10 minutes you spend on your health this week. I will see you there.